I've had cases of bringing my mentees to my house just for them to do their work. So I think solving problems in Nigeria and other LMICs should be things that are, you treat them at their own merit. Because what will solve a problem here may not solve a problem in another place. And I also tell young persons, when you're working in a team, always show yourself visible. Let your team members know that you are very, very interested in the work. Not allow them to chase you around or to remind you that it's time for meeting.
This is the Truth in Research conversation where we interact with academics all over the world. We try to evoke some kind of insights that is going to be really beneficial to early career researchers in low and medium income countries who don't really know how to get started with research. So it's actually a very massive pleasure to have Associate Professor Ukamaka Okafor in this particular conversation. Can you briefly tell us about yourself?
Okay, my name is Dr. Ukamaka Okafor. I'm a pharmacist, fundamentally by profession. I later veered into public health with an MSc and PhD in public health. I was in medicine regulation for more than 20 years before I retired and went into the teaching profession. So I am an associate professor with Euclid University in Bangui in the Department of Global Health and Bioethics. So I also do a lot of community-based research because I also run some chains of community pharmacy in Lagos, Nigeria. So apart from being an associate professor, I'm very engaged in community pharmacy practice, and that has been an advantage to my research works. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so I want to just ask you a question briefly as an associate professor. From your experience across regulation, policy, and some kind of health system, what does strong evidence truly look like when shaping national health decisions?
I think that is a gap that we already have in the country, and I'm sure it's the same thing maybe in a lot of the LMICs. A situation where we don't really understand that there can be no significant development without research, and that is why people go to schools, they do research, and they just collect certificates, and that is the only thing they want to do. So there is a gap. And that gap is that many of our policies are not informed by data. So until we start allowing our policy development and reforms to be driven by evidence-based data, then that gap will continue to be there. So that's a very serious problem, because I've worked in regulation for more than 20 years. I've also done research, and I've seen situations where students graduate, they do research, and they just leave the document there and go. So there's a disconnect between researchers and policy makers. So there's supposed to be a connection between the two.
Yes, completely. I do agree with you, because there's often a gap between research findings and actual implementations. All right. So especially in African health systems. And where do you think this gap comes from, and how do you realistically think we can bridge this gap?
We can bridge this gap when the government insists that for every policy brief, you need to bring data. You need to bring data that is not data from outside their country, but you need to bring local data to justify any policy that you want to enact. And the government also should make, a very intentional policies or regulations, to ensure that researchers have a connection with policymakers. Because there are so many cases, and it is also difficult. You see, the system in Nigeria is a system where everybody is trying to protect their own territory.
True.
There is no reason. There is no reason why a policymaker should not teach regulations in the university.
True.
But you find out that the lecturers that are teaching in the university are not policymakers.
Yes.
So they are teaching from what they have read from a book. But when policymakers or when community practitioners are allowed to teach in universities. Like a clinical pharmacist or a physician is supposed to be teaching clinical pharmacy in university, so that I can teach from you can teach from experience and not from literature review. So that a disconnect, so that a disconnect of people trying to, just to make sure that their territory is guarded. So you find out that even sometimes people that are in the field want to even voluntarily teach in universities, and some lecturers may be afraid that maybe this person may come in and not take my job, something like that. But we are supposed to be interested in the end result, which is the quality of the graduates that we are producing, and not just to guard our territory and ensure that people don't come near us.
Yes, exactly. So, okay, yes, I really got something from there. You talked about you don't have to be teaching from literature review, rather you just also need to be teaching from experience, and that's very, very true, because a lot of African tutors, they are just recycling the same thing year in, year out, and there isn't really that that novelty, that spark is not really coming. But now let's look at it from this part now. There is this young person that is in Africa now. There is an average student who is in probably final year or maybe in fourth year, and they find it interesting to do research. Right now, let's look at them now as early career researchers now, who are trying to ask a question: if these students can actually have a place in policy. Yes, I know that we should be looking at academics, channeling on how academics can improve themselves in order to shape policy and all of that. But I believe that if young people understand how to write good literature review, if they also understand how to do research, execute, some kind of minor tasks, collaborate with their tutors, they can also be part of the policy making based on what they are putting in literature. Now, so the question now is, what message do you have for that student, that person who is not really exposed to what we might be exposed to right now? What is that message? What message do you have for the person?
Okay, the message I have for the person is, in the first instance, to be focused on what you want to do, and then to seek not only formal training, to also seek informal training. Because if you want to major in research, maybe I want to give an example. I always try to give an example with pharmacy, because I'm a pharmacist. So that's where my core area is. Assuming you come out from university as a pharmacy student, and you want to go into research, but you need to do your internship first for 1 year. And doing that your internship, you didn't get a place in the university to do your internship, even when you know that you like research. You can get internship in a community or in a hospital and still look out around your environment to know that there is a researcher around. So you can attach yourself as an intern to people that are doing research, either in the university in that town where you are, or you can even identify in that your hospital or in that your community. You can identify some people in some of your preceptors that have a flair for research, and you attach yourself to them. You will learn. I have some very young pharmacists now that I'm teaching, how to do research, how to conduct research. I'm not paying them; they're not paying me, but it's a win-win relationship. So that learning from them, they're also helping me to do one or two things. So the young person has to be focused, and then try to learn both formally and informally. So you must not go back to masters before you can learn research. Why waiting to have finish your internship and use service and go for masters? Why waiting for that? You can informally be learning under somebody else.
Thank you very much, Prof. From what you explained now, it's very important for them to make sure that they engage in getting more experience and all of that. Now, I think from what you're saying now, collaboration could play a role. Now, at Centicini, one of our mission is to make sure that we advance evidence synthesis, because it's always a very good starting point in research for young early career researchers, understanding how to at least navigate review literature, because it's from when they are reviewing literature that they are now going to understand areas where they can also dive deeper into, and where there is need for research. I'm sure we know the sense of literature review in research. Now, I'm going to ask now, can you actually emphasize on the relevance of collaboration for early career researchers? How much of importance do you think collaboration is going to play a role in their research outcome?
Collaboration is very, very important because they will learn from others. Others will also learn from the little that they know. And and when you are doing collaboration, people have different specifics. Like now, if I want to have a research team, I don't only look for people that are like me in knowledge and skills. I'm not a data analyst, so while I'm looking for collaborators, I will look for data analysts. I like to write introduction of every study, but I want to set the pace of a study. So if I'm looking for a collaborator, I might look for a person that knows how to do discussion or how to write analysis very well, because I know that I can always set a pace in writing my introduction. And collaboration will also help the young persons, because when you collaborate and you do publications, anyone that is cited, you are being cited. Do you understand? When another study is citing a study that you are one of the collaborators, you are also being cited in that study. So collaboration is very, very important for not only early career persons. It's very important for everyone, because it makes you more visible. It makes you to work with people that you may not even think that you can get to. So when you are in a team, you find out that you are like, let me use quote and unquote, rubbing shoulders with people that are very, 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 very far your seniors. But because you are all collaborators, you get a lot by collaborating with people.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof, for that particular contribution and insight. Just one last thing. What is going to be your message? Right now we want Africans. We don't just want not just Africans, but individuals in low and medium income countries to get access to good research, considering all the challenges that a lot of countries in, that's LMiCs now, any country that is classified as LMiC, and looking at Nigeria as a case study, what is going to be your message to anybody who is actually in this particular setting that is facing some of these constraints? What is that message that you want to pass to them that you believe that can keep them still up and going?
No, in the first instance, what constraints do you think that are passing?
Okay, maybe you could talk about electricity. You could look at lack of technical know-how, maybe lack of tutor engagement, and all of that. The vast majority of them, I'm sure you're aware.
Okay, people should actually look for ways to sort out things around them. I used to have some mentees at the time that when I give them work, I'm just talking from experience now. When I give them some things to do, maybe after 2-3 days, they will say that, excuse me, man, we have not had light for 3-4 days. I can't charge my laptop, so I just tell them, can you come to my house and stay for 2 nights and do your work? Because my house, there's light in 5 hours. They said yes, that they can come. So I've had cases of bringing my mentees to my house just for them to do their work. So I think solving problems in Nigeria and other LMICs should be things that are, you treat them at their own merit. Because what will solve a problem here may not solve a problem in another place. And I also tell young persons, when you are working in a team, always show yourself visible. Let your team members know that you are very, very interested in the work. Not allow them to chase you around or to remind you that it's time for meeting. You should know that it's time for meeting and go for your meeting, and let people know that, let them spot you out to know that this person is good, and I want to work with this person. So you find out that even that your mentor may be the one trying to solve all those other problems that you have, you're having. There was the time I was paying my mentees some small money, even when they were learning from me. But I found out that they needed money for data, they needed money for one thing or the other, and I was paying them, every month. So it depends on how valuable people think that you are, because many people that are into research have not even learned how to do the research. That's why I say people should get trained both formally and informally. So people should actually intentionally go out on their way to get trained. And it is not everybody that is in the university that is trained to do research. Some people, because of hardship, just started, and they know somebody, maybe they know the dean or the vice chancellor, and they give them lecturer work. That has not made them to know how to teach. So people should actually learn whatever they want to do. If you want to be a lecturer, you learn how to teach. It's not good. So that's what I also tell young people. anything that you want to do, learn it. Learn that thing very well so that you'll be able to do it. So there are so many things that are limiting us. You see young people that are using touch or rechargeable lamps, to study. Many of us pass through that, but that's why I said people should solve the problems, at their own merit. How the person solve problem is not how the other person that will solve the problem. So people should try to solve their problems with peculiar environment where they find themselves.
That's very nice. That's an experienced, highly strategic regulatory scientist with keen experience. So I think I want to say a very big thank you for your time. I think some of the words that you've shared currently is really going to be very helpful. The idea is that we want to make sure we reach out to as much young Africans, early career researchers who are finding it very difficult to navigate their paths. The idea behind this conversation is that we want to create an avenue for young people to understand that it's still possible. It is possible for them to attain that particular height that they are looking at, and also, yes, contribute to literature. Of course, personally, I've published a lot of articles, lots of publications, all of that. But I do always tell them that this is something that is possible, and they get to hear from experts too that this is possible. And when they see the possibility, it also gives them some kind of courage to understand that the government is not their problem. TikTok is not their problem. Social media distraction is not their problem, but they themselves can actually take full responsibility and come out at the very best. So I want to say very, very
And,
big.
and then they have to be patient.
Yes, yes, yes.
Patience is very, very important. So I know
Exactly.
somebody that just left a research work to go and do business because the person felt the research work is not paying him enough money.
True.
So
Exactly.
that wondering. So people have to be patient and know that in the long run the money will come.
Of course. True. That's a very, very key information that they need to hear. A lot of them need to hear that, because once you have a research lab, you're trying to train them and all of that. So some people are like, oh, they're not really making any money, but they are getting the publications, but they want the money. And you're telling them that, don't worry, these things are going to count in later on, but that they should kind of look beyond. So, but all this way, what we try to do is just kind of balance it and all of that, look for how to balance it and still make them passionate. So, thank you very much for this particular time, like very, very useful. And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.